Is it fast? No. Is it practical? No. But is it fun? Absolutely. Buying a Harley-Davidson Sportster is a lot like choosing to marry your crazy ex-girlfriend. You don't do it for logic. You do it for a story to tell. If you've watched some of my previous few videos, you have probably seen me bash my Sportster Iron 1200 pretty hard. So what can you trust? Why do I keep buying them anyway if they have some issues? And should you buy a Sportster or not? Let's find out. Motorcycle reviews on the internet are rife with personal bias. The manufacturers invite the media to press launch events, but the minute those media people stop putting out positive reviews, they stop getting invited to the next ones.
I've been a motorcycle journalist for 27 years, and I was honest for 7 of them.
Same thing with influencers. Sleazy influencers don't want to upset manufacturers or risk offending and alienating potential subscribers. So they also tend to toe the line and tell you every motorcycle's great.
I'm here with the new Harley. It's a beautiful day for a ride. God, I hate this bike.
Problem is, owner reviews are also rife with personal bias on YouTube because people aren't just financially invested in their motorcycles, they also get very emotionally and ego invested in their motorcycles too, and that can be a problem because it makes them so much more forgiving about things that non-owners might not like about their bikes. Luckily, there are still a bunch of us out there who, some of us have owned dozens and dozens of motorcycles, some maybe less, but still managed to be objective and removed and not so invested in our motorcycles that we can't tell you how much they suck. So here is another one of my no nonsense, no bullshit, no filter reviews. Here we go. First, I will say, if you want to skip ahead on my backstory and just understand whether or not the Sportster is right for you, I will put a timestamp somewhere on the screen and you can skip to that time and then you'll just miss all of my own personal story. But if you want to understand where I'm coming from with the Sportster to better put all of that later stuff into context, here we go. The story starts around spring of 2011. I was a broke student just finishing university. My dad's cancer was in remission. I was just starting my career in the motorcycle business, working at a dealership, and that allowed me to move out and do two things that I never could before. The first one was I moved out, and the very next day I brought my dog home. Her name was Miley. She's the best. And the second thing was get a Harley. I had actually gotten a Harley like months earlier, but my parents said I wasn't allowed to have one, so I just kept hiding it from one friend's garage to another friend's garage to another friend's garage. Yeah. Last video I mentioned that I taught myself a lot of how to wrench on a motorcycle because I kept taking my Sportster apart and then rushing to put it back together every day so I could ride it to work in the morning. I did that every night with my dog Miley by my side, and she grew up attached to that bike and quickly learning how to tell the sound of my Harley versus the sound of my ex's Kawasaki Ninja, and then getting really excited when she could tell that it was one of us coming home. And I will never in my life forget the time where she just randomly decided to, all on her own, jump up on the seat of the Harley, turn around to face the front, and then sit facing forward. And it's bad, but it is my favorite picture of all time, and it's also probably like one of my favorite memories of all time. That being said, do I have personal bias? Of course, I have a ton of emotional bias towards the Sportster. I mean, I'll never forget being 21 and 22 years old, hanging out with my first dog, in my first garage, working on my first Harley, having that young, playful kind of love, thinking my dad had just beaten cancer and how great it was that I could just pick up the phone and call him. It was everything a guy could want in life. I was so grateful for that period. And then a year or two later, I would lose my dad. About a month after that, that relationship would end. And about 12 years later, I would lose my dog. So then fast forward several months after that, and I see an ad for the Sportster for sale, my Iron 1200. And I'm like, well, there's the one thing I can still have. So I bought it. And honestly, it's been a fantastic experience. Whether I am changing the exhaust system, changing spark plugs, or just riding the thing, it's like a time machine for me. It takes me back to going through those same motions, reliving those same experiences, remembering those happy moments in my garage with my dog, with my dad just a phone call away. And if you think, like me, that all dogs go to heaven, do me a solid, please. Hit that like button, all right? Okay, so now that we know the real reason why I bought my Sportster. The real question is, should you buy one? And before either one of us can answer that for you, we got to make sure that you are totally clear on these 5 things. So here we are. The first thing is, you need to think of the Sportster as an unfinished product. The Sportster, as it leaves the factory, is not a great motorcycle, but it can be because there is such a huge aftermarket for this bike. It just needs some work, and by work, I mean money. So my suggestion is, if your budget is, let's say, to make it easy, $5,000, do not spend all $5,000 on your Harley, your Sportster, okay? Don't do that. Spend $4K, buy the best Sportster you can find for $4K, leave $1K aside, and put that towards your upgrades, whether it be suspension, ergonomics, exhaust, whatever it is you can put that $1,000 towards. You will be happy that you left it aside to get the bike set up just the way you want. If you can do that, buy it. Also, side note, if you're wondering what kind of mods you might want to do, I did a video called My Sportster is Dumb and Fun to Ride Just Like Your Mom. That lists all of the different mods that I did to my bike and kind of shows you a little bit of doing each one, so I will link to it, you can check that out. The second thing that you should know before you understand whether or not the Sportster is right for you is that you also need to come to terms with the fact that the 883 is really limited on the highways, and the 1200cc Sportster, it only costs like me, I think 30 or 40 bucks more per year to insure. If the prices are comparable and similar, don't buy the 883, buy the 1200. It's a no-brainer. However, okay, even the 1200 is not great as a big long distance or big highway bike, right? There's still a lot of vibration, there's still only 5 gears. It's still not really designed for that. So if you think you might get tired of it on the highway because you plan on doing a lot of highway or a lot of long days, maybe don't buy a Sportster. But if you think, that's fine, buy a Sportster, you'll be fine. The third thing you need to understand before you know for sure if a Sportster is right for you is it's not really an ideal first beginner motorcycle. Yes, it has a low seat height. Yes, you can pick up the older ones for real cheap, which is great for beginners. Yes, I have a video called 50 Things to Check Before Buying a Harley-Davidson Sportster, which it's like a 25-minute video, but it'll show you 50 different things and what exactly to look for, and that's really gonna help you buying used. If you've never bought a used Harley before or a used motorcycle before, that video will be great for you. But it can be a great second bike, buy it for that. Maybe don't buy it as a first bike. It's just, there's a lot of torque there on both motors, and if you're a beginner and you're not really experienced, it might accidentally just take off on you and you might not be ready or able to handle it, so yeah. The fourth thing to know is that Harleys aren't cheap, but sometimes you just kind of get lucky. Either you get lucky on a good deal, or in my case, it was a good deal, but also I was able to buy Harley-Davidson gel seat and Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle genuine exhausts for hundreds less each, just because I live in a city of like 3 million people and there's always someone selling Harley parts within like a 45-minute drive of me. And so I save a bunch of money buying those parts used. So for some people, depending on where you live, depending on what your budget is, buying a Sportster could make a lot of sense and you should do that. But for other people, you're stuck buying new on everything. Maybe you don't have as much money to spend, don't buy a Sportster. And the fifth thing you need to consider before you know for sure if a Sportster is right for you or not is you can buy ones that have some or even a lot of work done, and sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes that's a bad thing. Like if you see a bike listed and the guy said he did a big bore kit on it and he did himself, and you go and look at the guy and like he smells like an alcoholic who hasn't showered in 4 weeks, maybe don't buy that bike. But if you see someone else where they spent an extra 500 bucks and they put upgraded shocks on their bike, that's kind of a harder thing to screw up, and that'll save you some money and it'll make your bike ride a lot nicer. So maybe that's the one to go for instead. So some Sportsters that are modified you want to buy, some Sportsters that are modified maybe you don't want to buy. Whatever the case though, never act too excited about those mods, because quite often you get pennies for your dollar on the money you spent on mods. But if somebody comes and they're all gung-ho about your mods, then they're going to want to get as much as they can out of you. Again, if you think buying a Sportster is right for you, strongly recommend check out my 50 Things to Check Before You Buy One video. I'll link to it. It'll save you a lot of potential headaches and bad discoveries later on. It's also about to hit 100,000 views, so I'm really excited about that. If you think like me, all dogs go to heaven, please do me a solid. Hit that like button. And now for the shocking twist at the end and the cliffhanger. You ready? After all that sentimental, emotional stuff, I sold my Sportster and I bought something else to replace it. And if you want to see what I got, hit subscribe to find out. I'm Adrian from YouMotorcycle. Ride safe, but have fun. Peace.